You've been scrolling through endless listings, trying to find an alto sax that won't feel like a constant gamble, something that stays in tune night after night, fits comfortably into a gig schedule, and actually justifies the price tag you're about to hand over. The fear of ending up with a beautiful-looking instrument that cracks under the pressure of a rehearsal or that demands endless adjustments is real. You want a sax that you can set down on a stand after a long set and pick up again tomorrow without a surprise. That's the dilemma most players face when they're ready to step up from a student model to something that can handle professional gigs. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The Yamaha YAS 62III in amber lacquer is pitched squarely at that middle ground, a step up from entry level, but still approachable enough that you don't need a full-time tech crew to keep it singing. It's the kind of sax that promises a professional feel without demanding a graduate-level budget. The question is whether it actually delivers on that promise in everyday playing, rehearsals, and the occasional travel gig. First off, who should consider this sax? If you're a serious high school or college student who's already comfortable with the basics and is looking for a reliable workhorse that can sit in a marching band one week and a jazz combo the next, the YAS 62III is worth a serious look. It also fits well for gigging freelancers who need a dependable instrument that won't become a headache when you're moving from a small club to a larger venue. The 62 style neck, a hallmark of Yamaha's professional line, provides a response that feels a bit more open than a student neck, giving you a richer low end and smoother transitions between registers. That can make a noticeable difference when you're tackling a demanding solo or need that extra projection in a brass section. On the flip side, if you're a complete beginner still figuring out basic fingerings, you might find the weight and the slightly more nuanced key action a bit intimidating. The instrument leans toward the heavier side of the alto sax spectrum, which is fine for players with some arm strength, but could cause fatigue for those just starting out. Likewise, seasoned pro players who already own a top-tier custom sax may see the YAS 62III as a solid secondary instrument rather than their primary voice, simply because it sits a notch below the ultra-high-end models that come with handcrafted key mechanisms and exotic finishes. Now, let's talk about the practical strengths that show up once you actually bring the sax out of the box. The professional neck receiver is one of those design choices that seems subtle but has a real impact. Because the receiver is built to accommodate a tighter, more responsive neck, you'll notice less sponginess when you go from low A up into the higher altissimo range. In a rehearsal setting, that translates to smoother intonation and less time spent chasing notes that drift flat. I've heard students describe the feeling as the sax just wants to speak, which is exactly the kind of responsiveness you want when you're on stage and don't have a minute to fiddle with the instrument. The integrated key posts are another hidden advantage. Instead of having separate posts that can wobble over time, Yamaha's design locks everything into a single, sturdy framework. In real-world terms, that means you're less likely to encounter the occasional key that sticks or the dreaded key wobble after a long set. For gigging musicians who pack their instrument in a gig bag and hop on a bus, that reliability can save you from an embarrassing moment where a key refuses to close mid-solo. Aesthetically, the amber lacquer finish is more than just a pretty coat. The lacquer is known for being fairly resistant to scratches and minor dings, which is a practical consideration for anyone who frequently transports their sax. I've seen students who accidentally brush the case against a metal pole and the finish stays pristine, whereas a cheaper lacquer might chip and expose the underlying metal. This durability factor adds to the overall value proposition because you're not constantly worrying about touch-ups or polishing. Speaking of the case, the included hard case is built to Yamaha's standard for professional instruments. It has a padded interior that cradles the body and neck, and the latches are reinforced to withstand the rigors of travel. In my own experience, a well-designed case can be the difference between arriving at a gig with a dented bell or a perfectly intact instrument. The amber lacquer case also matches the sax's finish, giving you a cohesive look that some players appreciate for stage presence. No instrument is without its compromises, and the YAS 62III is no exception. The first thing you'll notice is the weight. At roughly 8.5 pounds, it's noticeably heavier than many intermediate models. If you're used to a lighter student sax, you'll feel the difference when you're holding it for an extended solo. That isn't a deal breaker for most, but it's something to keep in mind if you